Welcome, my sisters and brothers, to another session of The Law of One. It's my pleasure to share with you conscious channeling of LL Research. We are those of the principle QO, greeting in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. It is a pleasure to be called to your circle of seeking and a privilege to be asked to share our humble opinions with you on the subject of perception of time at this time. As always, we ask you to be governors and guardians of the temple of your minds and hearts. Listen to our words with an ear for that thought which reverberates and resonates to you. That thought would be the one most likely to yield results if you work with it. If the thoughts that we share do not have the resonant feeling, we would suggest that you lay them aside and move on. From that which you seek is waiting for you to discover it. Therefore, to the path of resonance, rather than to your high opinion of any particular speaker. We thank you for this consideration as it enables us to speak freely without being concerned that we will infringe upon your free will or disturb the process of your spiritual evolution. You ask this day concerning time, or the perception of time. It is indeed so that there are various ways in which the stream of time is plastic, and we would discuss them without giving one distortion priority over another in terms of whom they affect and so forth. By far, at this time, the largest proportion of entities experiencing variations in time are those entities who are experiencing a simple speeding up of time. Hours don't seem to be hours, and days don't seem to be days, and the year goes by too fast. There is nothing metaphysical about this time distortion. It is rather an artifact of the changes in your environment over the last 200 years. Over the last 200 years, a great deal has changed in your environment as a species, and we speak to those primarily in the first world, shall we say, and the new world, who have the conveniences of civilization in its corporate glory at this time and have come through the process of the Industrial Revolution. 200 years ago, if one wished to travel from Philadelphia to St. Louis, one boarded a wooden wagon, sprung on wheels and pulled by horses or oxen, or one traveled by horse or by cart or on foot in real time to those places where one wished to go. Naturally, this made everyone think carefully about where they wished to go because they would have to devote whatever time it took to walk there, do the business that was to be done there, and walk back. Or alternatively, to ride a horse there or harness the horse to a buggy of some kind. All of these things slowed down events. They had to happen at the speed of the human body's ability to move, or at the very most at the ability of a horse or ox to move. 100 years ago, things advanced considerably in that century. You are now able to travel by getting on a train. You were able to transverse the distance from Philadelphia to St. Louis in a 13th of the time it had previously taken. Nevertheless, you were earthbound. You gazed out the window and saw every speck of country between Philadelphia and St. Louis that lay along that track. You were still in real time, in terms of being in a tactile, sensual relationship with that which came between one's place and another. At your present time, if you transverse the distance from Philadelphia to St. Louis, you can get upon an airplane in Philadelphia, and you can, in the same afternoon, land in the airport at your destination in St. Louis, having had no actual experience of travel, except that which is related to the peculiar experience of riding on an airplane, which, at least in this instrument's mind, does not count as actual travel, for there is, besides a beautiful sky, no sense of where one is, no sense of the land between point A and point B. Looking at another aspect of life 200 years ago, if you wish to write and communicate with people, you took your pen and you carefully wrote out that which you wished to say in a fair hand. You then gave that letter to the postal carrier who was working by horse, and eventually that letter would be received. In local letter writing, entities simply sent messengers from one house to another with notes, and those notes were returned by those same messengers on foot. Eventually, plans were made, associations were formed, and business was conducted. 100 years ago, entities communicated by typewriter and could send the speedy written documents to their destinations on the train. The telephone was in its early days at that time, and so people could communicate from place to place in certain areas where there were telephone systems. The cable and the wire were also ways of communicating rapidly, and business and communications had sped up. In your day, entities tend to go through life with their cell phones on so that they are completely available at any moment from anywhere in the globe by anyone who has the telephone number of their cell phone. Computers send information using light as their medium. Needless to say, this communication is fast. Entities now are completely overwhelmed with information, communication, and an intimacy that is global. The irony of having such massive communication is that entities feel more isolated than they did 100 years ago. Just as entities then, feeling things speed up around them, felt isolated by the change. This is the major experience of people, and as we said, there is nothing metaphysical about it. It is that which happens when people have too much to cross off their lists before they can rest. As life has gotten more assisted and entities are free from the drudgery of washing by hand, scrubbing on their knees the floor, having appliances, and so forth, more and more options have opened up. There are more and more expectations in more and more areas. And the center that there was to life in a simple survival mode has been lost. Because there are many assets to survival these days. Food is prepared for you, and you can buy it ready-made or take it home frozen and zap it in your microwave oven. Yet, at the same time, you have lost that feeling of connection with the land and the crop growing from the land. Going out in the dawning to harvest your crop, preserving it carefully, and enjoying the food that is yours, that grew on your land, and that is for you. This has been lost. This kind of center has been lost in many different areas, so that entities are flying high and doing a great many things, but there is a tendency not to have a center that makes sense of existence, or is the pivot around which the wheel of your life can turn. The solution for correcting this distortion is to remove from yourself the necessity to respond to all of the different facets of possibility within modern life as you know it. And when you do each thing that you do it with that feeling of a center of things. What is your center? From what center are you working? This instrument prays every morning. Send us now into the world in peace, and grant us strength and courage to love and serve you with gladness and singleness of heart. When your mind is on serving the one infinite Creator, then you can slow life back down because you have a center. You can take the time to dedicate your efforts, no matter how humble or how grand, to the one infinite Creator. And this normalizes your time. It may still go quickly, but you have more of a sense of being there and being an active and conscious part of your own life. Without that center, there is a tendency to feel that life has overwhelmed and overtaken you, and you can never catch up. There is another way in which time is being distorted, and we can only touch upon this generally because of this instrument's lack of knowledge of science, especially physics. Two densities of Earth are existing simultaneously as they have always. However, up until approximately 50 years ago, by far the more powerful of the two densities that were shaping time-space was the third density, the density you now experience. At about that time, 50 years ago, the fourth density, planet Earth, began to activate. These things come in stages, coming from the very highest realms of manifestation and filtering down through the tree of life, shall we say, to individual galaxies, individual sun systems, and individual planets. But just as the turning of wheel that moves the clock from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, the hand of time begins waking up fourth density, planet Earth, to activate and become, in its turn, the manifesting density of this particular planet. So, you exist at this time in a between time where third density's energy is all but gone, and fourth density's energy is bursting forth. However, this is still a third density experience for each of you who is experiencing Earth on what is called a time lateral. The nearness of fourth density to third at this time means that there is a bleed through. When one is operating on default third density values, such as protecting the home and tribe and being the winner and that sort of value, the experience of this intermixing of vibrations is simply a feeling of being weary, cranky, sick, or in some way out of kilter. Rather than beginning to welcome these fourth density vibrations, they simply seem to be toxic. The reason for this, of course, is that entities vibrate at a certain level. It is not a simple matter of the electromagnetic properties of your body. Your thoughts are very powerful, and there is a kind of vibration that you create by your thoughts. When you are tuning your thoughts towards thankfulness, joy, and worship, your vibration is moving upwards. Your frequency of vibration is increasing. When you allow thoughts of depression, disappointment, grief, anger, resentment, and other such negative emotions to persist in your consciousness, and especially when you allow them to become habitual, you begin to vibrate at a lower rate of vibration. You simply cannot enjoy fourth density vibrations. They seem to be attacking the body. Those who are conscious, awake, and on the path of spiritual seeking do not feel these vibrations as toxic. They do not feel them as that which makes them sick. However, they may well feel them as challenging. For these vibrations are vibrations of shining truth. They demand truth. They live in truth. You may say, "What is truth?" And we say to you that to each person it is something different. What the fourth density does is make transparent everyone's truth. One may see not only one's own center, which one cannot see now in the third density in which you live. One may also, in fourth density, one may also see the center of each other person. It is a wonderfully normalizing thing to be at a fourth density level and to see the earth populated by flower after flower after flower of the Creator's sons and daughters who are coming into bloom in incarnation. That is the true nature of each of you, and that is how you would see each other were you living completely in fourth density. It is not that you would be better. It is that it would be transparent as to who you are. And it would be transparent to you as to who everyone else is. All the imperfections that now hold you back and pull you down into self-judgment mean nothing, because it is obvious that every attempt is being made not to err. And yet error is inevitable, for when one is learning, one learns from one's errors. One must make the errors in order to progress. Therefore, there is an inclusive feeling of one being one tribe when one is gazing at the other selves around one. Entities within third density often come very close to achieving this kind of fourth density experience in special moments such as this meditation and such as the Easter services and the Passover feast and all of the other holy occasions that mark this time of the year. For many, there are different religions and spiritual practices, such as Wicca, which take this time to observe the rites of spring. At these moments, entities can almost see the promised land of utter equality, utter compassion, and the utter embracing of each other. They can almost taste that desire to move forward as a tribe and not to play off against each other, but to serve each other, becoming the least in order to lead, as the one known as Jesus taught so well. But for the most part, it remains a challenging kind of vibration where you, in third density bodies, with the third density veil still down, are asked to look at everything that is keeping you from becoming a fourth density being. Everything that is holding you back from polarizing more and more towards service to others. What is holding you back? It isn't going to be the same for any two people. In general, what holds entities back is that which causes them not to pay attention to who they are and why they are in incarnation. It is easy to lose track of the big picture. If you can maintain a hold on the big picture, and when you discover that you have strayed from it, move back to it, you will have the best chance possible of being able to cooperate and enjoy the revelations of truth that this fourth density energy is bringing you. If you see that which do you not like, take special care to embrace and examine it. Take special care to embrace and examine it and research that which you are seeing. Do not say, "Oh, that could not be me." Rather, dig deep and find out within yourself which is the echo and the shadow of what you are seeing in the mirror of someone else or some relationship of which you have heard that horrifies you. Do not turn your back on that and say, "That could never be me." Rather, find that portion of yourself that resonates with the dark side of that which you have seen and bring that dark image of yourself up. When you face the darkness within you, you can ask it to work for you. You can say, "I need you. I need you, anger. I need you, grief. I need you all seemingly negative emotions, because I need to persevere. I need to keep going. And you are my grit. You are my resolve. You are the iron that strengthens my will and encourages me to return to my faith. Come with me on this journey. Let us, dark and light side, worship and love the one infinite Creator in its mystery. These actions will bring you ever more peace and serenity within yourself. as you acknowledge and embrace your imperfections and task them to help you to better and to help you become that which is ahead of you to become. What have you in mind to become, if not that entity which is ever more polarized, more full of the love and the light of the one infinite Creator? We do not say that these are easy times for anyone, but they are interesting times, and each of you is here because you wanted to incarnate at this time very badly. You wanted to make a difference. You wanted to serve. And you want now to graduate at the end of your incarnation here. Use these odd feelings of time being perceived crookedly to remind you that you are in this period of shining truth, which is being rained down on you in a sideways and circuitous manner because of the interaction of third density and fourth density. Their space-times are enough different that there is a challenging dynamic to the times. There is another way in which we may look at time at this time, and we mentioned this earlier in passing. Because of the fact that your Earth is on a time lateral, time has deliberately been slowed in order that there would be more opportunity for members of the tribe of humankind to reach graduation with a polarity that will enable them to move on to fourth density. And we may honestly say that many entities have literally moved heaven and earth in order to maximize this possibility. It is not only those from outside the planet or the planetary influence which have contributed to this effect of time dilation. It is also the many light workers who, for the last half century and more, have joined the ageless community of those who meditate for the good of planet Earth, with very specialized agendas having to do with their being wanderers coming into Earth incarnation in order to help shift the energy from one vibration that is third density to a higher vibration that is more full of light, denser with the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. And those wanderers have infected and spread the light so that many of those who are not wanderers at all have also awakened and become wanderers themselves, shedding and spreading light in turn on others, who in turn catch it and pass it on. This also has greatly ameliorated the severity of this shift from third density to fourth density. And lastly, there is an experience which is very rare, but about which we feel that the one known as D is inquiring. When entities focus into the world of spirit, past the point in thinking in words, generally they are entering into silence. So the one known as D is atypical in that she has not come into the heart of the mystery by entering the silence so profoundly that the doors open. This entity has done so by sinking down into the roots of language, almost as if she were able to take an electron microscope to the human voice or the human breath and discover what sacred act may be achieved by the use of symbol and breath. And so this entity too has broken through a kind of barrier that, once broken through, opens up a vista that is infinite. When realizations of this nature occur, there is a mark left in the pond of local time. It is as if each realization is a pebble being dropped into that local, personal time experience, so that there are waves and ripples and disturbances. They are local. They are not dangerous. But they are definitely there, and they will only be found or be perceived by entities who are able to tune into the warp and woof of space-time. Space-time is due to a mismatch. There is a bit more of space than time in space-time, and a bit more of time than space in time-space, which is what creates in both space-time and time-space the ability of certain entities with certain organs designed to do this to be able to make sense out of vibration. Thusly, the mismatch between space and time in favor of time brings your illusion into focus. Your eyes are then able to interpret bits of information that they collect about that which is in front of them. They send it to a place in the brain which forms it into a kind of guess at what they are seeing. And they are able to move forward as if they were seeing everything perfectly, when in fact very little of a person's environment is usually in focus. An entity's eyes are generally in focus upon the face of the person to whom they are talking, or some object, which is the center of attention, and everything else is more or less seen, but not seen. When an entity is able to penetrate this mismatch, there is a still point, an astonishing experience which is full of possibility. And when this particular time distortion occurs, we encourage the entity that experiences it to pay very close attention to that which occurs and to ask for that which is one's heart's desire. We are those of QO. May we ask if there is another query at this time? We are those of QO, and since we have seemed to have exhausted the supply of questions at this particular circle of seeking, we shall take our leave of this instrument and this group, thanking each for the true pleasure of being a part of the beauty of this sacred gathering of souls. We are known to you as the principle of QO. We leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.